Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL, the podcast where we throw out the rule book, where we dive in head first to the real and raw, unapologetic journey of living the best life. That includes lots of music. This is your go-to space for empowerment, for deep healing and owning your authenticity like the boss that you are. We're here to break down walls and slay self-doubt. Vibe to the soundtrack of your soul. With every beat and lyric, we'll move through stories that heal and empower. You can live your fullest and most badass life. Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL. This episode of The Authentic Life with KL is brought to you by Break the Silence, a nonprofit created using music as a platform to raise awareness for mental health, suicide prevention, and recovery of all kinds, offering hope and starting the hard conversations to bring communities together. Hey guys, it's Kitty, and I'm glad you're here today. Today's episode is a little bit different, honestly, because I'm different. Just different. Not because I suddenly have everything figured out, because I don't, but I wanted to reflect with you guys on something that happened that really changed the way that I looked at life. Maybe you guys will get something. It wasn't something huge or dramatic. Nobody sat me down and changed my world with a conversation, and it wasn't a book, it wasn't therapy, it wasn't even something that anyone else said. It was just a thought, a sentence, and something I realized. And it felt like someone walked into a room inside my mind that had been dark for almost 50 years, and it flipped the light on. You know, you have those moments that are like, this is you before, and then this is you after. I want to talk about the after. Have you ever had one of those moments where suddenly all the random pieces of your life, all the decisions you've made, the fears you've carried, the guilt that you've lived with, and it's all just started making sense? You guys had those? I think that they're few and far between, but I know that when they happen, that you remember them. You remember them always. Like I said, it's always like the before, and then there's the after. But because you finally understand where all these came from, and that's where I've been, today I wanted to invite you on a journey while I explore this a little deeper with you guys. Before we dive in, I want to define a few things, because I think that in our culture, it's done a really good job at making certain words sound scary, and there's so many different misconceptions. So for this episode, I want you guys to understand and have a good definition of what I'm talking about here. So words like self-love, boundaries, and choosing yourself. Somewhere along the way, those words became dark, almost dirty words. Like, you can't do that. You're going to, mess up something. Especially if you grew up believing that good people always put everyone else first. So you may have heard things like, stop being so selfish. Think about everyone else. How are they going to feel? Good moms sacrifice. Good wives sacrifice. Good friends sacrifice. Good people sacrifice. And they give until there's nothing left. And while I believe in serving others, I really do. I think that is one of my most treasured purposes on this earth. And I believe it's beautiful. I don't believe the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it here, ever intended for us to disappear in the process while helping others. So I want to define what I mean, because choosing yourself is not the same thing as being selfish. Choosing yourself is not the same thing as being selfish. Selfishness says only my needs matter. Nothing else matters. Only mine. Only mine. Only mine. Choosing yourself says my needs matter too. Okay. Selfishness says only my needs matter. Mine. Choosing yourself means my needs matter too. And they always have. My needs matter too. Selfishness takes away from other people. Choosing yourself simply stops taking from yourself. Choosing yourself simply is stop taking from yourself. These are two completely different things. And I think so many of us have confused them through time. The same thing happens with self-love. People hear self-love and imagine someone who's arrogant, right? We think about, that person's confident. That person's self-love. That means they're arrogant. I found out that's not exactly what that means. There is a difference between being confident and having self love and loving who you are and being arrogant. Someone who is full of themselves, someone who thinks they're better than everyone else, that's not self love, that's ego. Real self love is actually quiet. I mean, it could be loud, but it starts being very quiet. It's making your doctor's appointments because your health matters. Self-love is making your doctor's appointments because your health matters. It's going to the gym because your health matters. It's if you can't go to the gym, you do what you can because your health matters. It's feeding your body healthy because your body matters. It's drinking water because your body deserves to be cared for. It's also resting when you're exhausted instead of feeling guilty for sitting down. It's also setting boundaries because resentment is not kindness. And if you overdo or do things that you really don't want to do, you're going to develop resentment. It is speaking kindly to yourself instead of becoming your own worst bully, because Lord knows we are. At least I am. I'm a good bully. I'm not a good one. I'm a strong bully to myself, not really to anyone else, but we are the worst monsters to ourselves. It's believing you're worthy of the same grace that you give everyone else. Not more, not less, the same. And then there's this thing, self-abandonment. Honestly, I think self-abandonment is something so many people are living without even realizing. And if you're sitting here listening, please think about self-abandonment and what that means. Self-abandonment looks like saying yes when your heart is screaming no. When you don't want to do it, you can't do it. You don't want to, but you say yes. It looks like apologizing for having needs. I'm sorry, but you upset me. Apologizing for having needs. It looks like constantly making yourself smaller so everyone else can feel comfortable. Self-abandonment looks like making yourself small and quiet so everyone else can be comfortable. Self-abandonment looks like convincing yourself that everyone around you is happy. And if that's the case, then one day you'll be happy too. Because if you keep everyone else happy, then you'll be happy. That day never seems to come because every time you abandon yourself, a tiny piece of you disappears. Not all at once, but little by little, until one day you wake up and think, I don't even know who I am anymore. That might be when you're 40. It might be when you're 50. It might be when you're 45-ish. It could be when you're much younger, much older. Maybe you felt that. Maybe you spent so much time of your life being who everyone else needed that you've forgotten who you are when no one's asking anything from you. I know that I've done that before. And the crazy part is I don't think most people choose self-abandonment because they hate themselves. Most people don't choose self-abandonment because they hate themselves. I think they choose it because somewhere along the way, they learned that it was safer, right? You keep people happy. It means you're safe. It doesn't, but right, in your mind somehow or another. They learned it was safer. Safer to stay quiet, safer to keep everyone happy, safer to not rock the blessed boat. Whether that be in a relationship, a family, work, whatever. Don't rock the boat. Be like it's smooth sailing. Safer to keep everyone happy. Safer to carry the weight yourself than risk disappointing someone else. How many of you on here will carry the weight of the world on your shoulders to not disappoint someone else? We don't want to hurt the people that we love. We don't. It's not inherently who we are. But sometimes it happens. It's safer for you to carry the weight of the world on yourself and your shoulders than to risk disappointing someone. And when I say safer, I don't mean physically. I mean emotionally, relationally, right? You sit there and be good. Don't mess up people's lives. Spiritually, our nervous systems are incredible. They're constantly asking one question: how do we stay safe? Our nervous systems are our biggest enemy. and our greatest advocate. They're always asking, how do we stay safe? How do we stay safe? When we were children, we didn't have the ability to analyze the way adults do. We don't understand complicated relationships. We never understood burnout. We don't understand addiction, emotional immaturity, codependency. We don't understand years of pain that was built long before we ever noticed something was wrong. We just observe as children. We create stories. Stories that help us make sense of the world, stories that help us survive. And here's the realization that changed everything for me. Children are incredible observers, but they're not yet equipped to be accurate interpreters. They cannot interpret what is in your mind. They can't. Just like you couldn't when you were growing up. Think about that for a second. A child can see tears. They can hear yelling. A child can notice someone leaves. They can notice tension in the room, but they don't understand why. And so their brains fill in the blanks. Think about that. Children aren't equipped to do that. Children aren't equipped to handle those things. They can see tears, they can see someone's upset, they can feel emotions in the room, they can see someone leaves, but they do not understand everything it took that built up to get there. So they fill in the gaps. That's what our brains do. They create meaning. Sometimes the meaning is accurate, sometimes it's just the best explanation a child could come up with. Or an adult, let's be real. Sometimes it's just whatever we can come up with. And the sentence that completely changed my life. I want you to hear me when I say this. I don't think I was ever afraid of choosing myself. I think I was afraid of what my younger self believed would happen if I did. I'm going to say that again for you. I'm going into teaching mode here. I'm going to say that again for you. I don't think I was ever afraid of choosing myself. I think I was afraid of what my younger self believed would happen if I did. That hits me like a freight train. Hits me. Because I realize maybe the guilt I've carried, maybe this constant need to make sure everyone's okay before I make sure if myself is okay. Maybe this feeling that I always have to earn rest didn't actually start in adulthood. Maybe it started with a little girl who loved deeply. And I did love deeply. I still love deeply. Who wanted everyone to be okay. And I do now. She watched life happen around her and quietly wrote this story in her heart. A story that said if you choose yourself, someone else gets hurt. Have you written that story before? I say a lot, write your story. Have you written that story before? I don't know exactly when she wrote it, and I don't know why, but I know this. I know this for a fact. She believed it. She believed it with all her heart. And without realizing, so did I. As the adult, so did I. And that's where today's story begins, not with the blame, not with the anger, not with pointing fingers, but with compassion. Compassion for my prior self. Compassion for the little girl who wasn't trying to sabotage my future, but she was trying to protect it. She wasn't trying to do anything crazy. She's not a crazy girl, but she was trying to protect it. And maybe the little version of you has done that too. I know if I'm going through it or I have gone through it or I discover something, there's someone else out there. That's what this podcast and what our entire group and nonprofit was born on. So maybe the little version of you too believe that. So let's go back. Let's look at where these stories come from. And more importantly, let's discover if they're actually true. Are they true? I don't believe that they're true. They're not true. All right. So I want to talk to you about something that always made sense until it didn't, right? We're talking about that before moment. We're talking about that after moment. I want you to think back to being 7 years old, maybe 10, maybe 12. Think about how much you understood about the world. At those ages, we think we know everything, but I want you to think about what you truly understood. Not what you know now, but what you knew then. There's a big difference. As children, we don't understand marriage. We don't understand relationships. We don't understand addiction. We don't understand depression, burnout, emotional abuse, people pleasing, trauma, financial stress, why someone stays, why someone leaves. We don't understand why mom cries after everyone goes to bed. And we don't understand why dad gets angry over something that seems small. And we don't understand why everyone always seems okay in public, but not at home. We don't understand any of that. We just observe and then we fill in the blanks because that's what our brains do. Because our brains hate unanswered questions. And if something doesn't make sense, our mind creates a story that makes sense. Not because we're trying to lie to ourselves, but because we're trying to survive. I think one of the greatest acts of love a child's brain performs is creates meaning out of chaos. The problem is sometimes those stories become our truth. Sometimes the stories that your brain, your child brain, created and filled in the blanks become your truth as an adult. You're accepting the truth of something that a child observed and filled in the blanks as your truth. And if that is you right now, just stick with me. They don't become our truth because they're accurate, but they've been repeated for decades. Decades. Think about that. Some of us have been living our lives based on conclusions we reached before we even knew how to multiply fractions, before we understood what a healthy relationship was, before we knew what anxiety was, before we even knew ourselves. So I started asking myself, what stories did I write? I wrote that story right there, right? What stories did I write? Or what stories did little me write that I just assume are true? I didn't write them intentionally, not consciously, but without even realizing it. Maybe one of mine was, if I make everyone happy, I'll be loved. Maybe another is, if I don't need anything, I won't be a burden. Maybe if I stay small, I will stay safe. And then the one that stopped me in my tracks. And this was a real eye-opener. That's what born this episode. Is that if I choose myself, someone else gets hurt. Why was I having such a problem? Why was it always such a thing for me to choose myself? Like, just choose it. Just do it. It's fine. I didn't even realize I had an issue with it other than I avoided things like the plague. And the one thing that I would never do is put away all the excuses to take care of my body, take care of my health. If I choose myself, someone gets hurt, someone else. I don't remember the exact moment that belief was born, and maybe there wasn't one. Maybe it happened 100 tiny times over and over and over. One disappointment, an argument, a tear, a sacrifice, a silent dinner where nobody was talking. One person putting everyone else first, one person leaving, a child trying to make sense of it all. Maybe that's how most of our beliefs are created, not in earthquakes, but in raindrops. Maybe that's how a lot of our beliefs, most of them are created, not in earthquakes, but in raindrops. Tiny experiences over and over and over, until one day they become who we think we are. And here's something that I learned about my nervous system. It's not trying to make you happy. It sure is not. It's trying to keep you alive. Your nervous system is not trying to keep you happy. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you alive. That's its job. The problem is your nervous system doesn't always know the difference between danger and familiarity. So if you think about that, sometimes what feels safe isn't healthy. If it feels safe, it doesn't mean that it's healthy. not in many circumstances. It's just familiar. Sometimes chaos feels normal because chaos is what you grew up around. Sometimes chaos feels familiar and you do fine in it because that's what you were brought up around. Sometimes exhaustion feels productive because that's what earned praise. Sometimes overgiving feels loving because that is the example you saw. Sometimes disappearing feels kind because somewhere along the way you learned your needs came last. So if you disappear, you're helping someone else. It's not because it's healthy, it's because it's familiar, and familiar feels safe. Even when it's hurting us, the realization hit me so hard because I started noticing something. Every time I did something good for myself, I felt guilty. Not a little guilty at all, a lot guilty. If I go to the gym and immediately think about other things that I should be doing. If I go to the gym, I'm thinking I should be doing this. Like, I'm convinced people don't do so much self-care because it takes time. You have to take the time out to go take care of you. If I'd spent money on my health, I'd wonder if someone else needed the money more. If I celebrate progress, I somehow immediately would start minimizing it. I am so good at this. Are you good at this? Like, thinking about all the things I do, like in my brain right now, I could tell you I do lots of great things and I love to do it. But I will just move forward and surpass recognizing the things that I've done. I mean, I used to. I'm working on that. Has anyone else ever done that? Please tell me that you have. One thing I always talk about in the group is, can you receive a compliment? This, a long time ago, is where some of this self-realization started, because if someone compliments you and you automatically assume that they're wrong, someone says you're beautiful, you say, oh no, are you blind? You did a great job. Oh no, I was just doing what I do. You can't receive a compliment. If you can't receive a compliment, you've already told someone that they're wrong. You know they're wrong. It's not that big of a deal. I still have so far to go. It could have been better. Why? Why are we so uncomfortable receiving kindness? Even more so, why are we so uncomfortable receiving kindness from ourselves? Then one day I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if choosing myself never was what causes pain? What if I simply just witnessed pain? Are you capable of just witnessing pain and not taking responsibility and just knowing that's just how that cookie crumbles? What if I simply witnessed pain at the same time someone else is finally choosing themselves? These are not the same thing. What if choosing myself never actually causes the pain? What if I simply witness it? At the same time, someone else was finally choosing themselves. They are not the same thing. Maybe someone finally left a relationship that's been breaking for years. The leaving wasn't the cause, it was the result. Maybe someone finally said no. The boundary was not the problem. The boundary revealed the problem. Maybe someone finally admitted that they were exhausted. Who would do that? The honesty didn't create the pain. It exposed the pain that had been hidden for a long time. That's so different. It's so different. And yet, as children, we don't know that. We just connect the dots. Somewhere, somebody chose themselves. People cried. Therefore, choosing yourself hurts people. It's such a logical conclusion for a child, but it's not always true. It's not always true. There's so much that you've taken on that you learned young that isn't true. And I wonder how many of us are still living by the rules that made perfect sense when we were 8, but no longer serve us as adults. I think healing begins with questions, right? It begins with questions so you can seek understanding. Not accusations, not shame, but questions. What story did I write? Who taught me that story? Does the stinking story still serve me? Is it even true? Because what I'm beginning to believe is maybe healing isn't learning something new. Maybe healing is giving yourself permission to question the stories you've believed for decades. Maybe healing is giving yourself permission to question the stories that you've believed for decades. Maybe the goal isn't becoming a different person. Maybe it's becoming free enough to become the person you were always meant to be. Maybe the goal is not to become a different person. Maybe it's becoming free enough to become the person that you were always meant to be. Because the little girl inside me did exactly what she needed to do. She survived. Now it's my turn to teach her. She doesn't have to survive anymore. She gets to live, and she's going to live. She is living. I am living. I want to ask you a question. Before you answer, I want you to answer it honestly, not with the answer you think that sounds good, not with the answer you've convinced yourself is true. Don't do that. But the honest answer. Who taught you what love looks like? Think about that. Not who told you. Who showed you? Because most of us didn't learn about love from conversations. We learned about it from watching. We watched the adults around us. We watched who apologized. We watched who stayed silent. We watched who carried the weight. We watched who sacrificed, who put themselves last, who exploded, who disappeared, who held the family together, who fell apart. And without even realizing it, we started writing definitions. Maybe love meant fixing everyone else's problems. Maybe love meant never asking for help. Maybe love meant staying, no matter how much it hurt. Maybe love meant proving your worth by how exhausted you were. Maybe love meant making sure everyone else was okay before you even ask yourself. Then something happens. You grow up. You become an adult. You get a job. You build relationships. You might become a spouse. 1, 2, or 3, 4 times. Maybe you become a parent. Maybe you become the person everyone depends on. And all those definitions you wrote as a child. I think that's so interesting to think about. All the definitions that you wrote as a child. You start living them, not because you chose them, but because they feel normal, because they've been running in the background for decades. It's like having software on your computer, right? It just runs there in the background for you. You don't think about it. It just runs till one day something crashes. For me, I think my body crashed before my mind did. Looking back, I realized my body had been trying to tell me truth for years. It whispered long before it screamed. It whispered through exhaustion, through inflammation, through pain, through carrying weight that was not just physical, but I did carry and still do carry weight, through constantly living in survival mode. And I kept saying, just keep going, because that's what I've always done. I'm good at a lot of things, but my best is just to keep going. I wore being needed like a badge of armor. I wore exhaustion like proof that I loved people. I wore self-sacrifice like it was a personality trait. But eventually my body said, I can't carry what your heart refuses to put down. I can't carry what your heart refuses to put down. I've become very body aware lately. And I love it. I love it. I'm so grateful for the body I have, and it's brought me to here. But when your body can't carry what your heart refuses to put down, you have to do something different. And I don't think that's just my story. That's why I am doing a podcast on this. I think it's important for everybody. I think it's a lot of our stories. Our bodies just try to get attention. Maybe anxiety wasn't your enemy. Maybe it was your nervous system saying, hey, I can't live like this. There's a lot of that. Maybe your constant fatigue wasn't saying it because you were weak. Maybe you've been carrying emotional weight that wasn't yours to carry. And maybe that resentment maybe resentment isn't because you're a bad person. Maybe they're all signs that you've been holding yourself together for everyone else way too long. And it's time for you to stop. You know what amazes me is how many of us can recognize when someone else is burned out. We can tell everybody else the answer, but when it comes to ourselves, we can't. We completely miss it in ourselves. We tell our best friend, you need to rest. We tell our spouse, you don't have to do everything. We tell a coworker, take care of yourself. But when it comes to us, it's just not something that we do because we don't matter, right? We do matter, absolutely. But I think in our minds somewhere, we think less of ourselves than we do other people. We hear a different voice. You should be able to handle this. Other people have it worse. Stop complaining. Keep pushing. Don't be dramatic. Where did that voice come from? Because I don't think we're born talking to ourselves this way. It is not, we're not born talking to ourselves this way. I think somewhere along the journey, we just inherit it. We just inherit it. One of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last year through losing weight and through working on my health, through building the foundation and showing up for myself in ways I never had before, is that healing isn't just about changing your habits. Healing isn't just about changing your habits. That's part of it. Healing is about changing your identity. For years, I thought I was becoming a healthier person. Now I realize I'm becoming an honest person. I'm becoming someone who finally admits when she's tired, someone who asks for help, someone who goes to the doctor instead of putting it off. Okay. I do believe I'm worth investing in. And let me tell you, that part has been a lot harder than just losing this weight that I'm losing currently. Because changing what you eat is one thing, but changing what you believe about yourself, that's a whole different journey. It's a whole different journey. Sometimes people ask me, when did everything change? And honestly, it just wasn't a big decision. It was 100 of tiny ones. Drinking the water, going to the gym, keeping my doctor's appointments, because God, I'm going to the doctor. My son will tell me, if you don't go to the doctor, they don't tell you anything bad. Saying no when I mean no, resting without explaining myself to everyone, and celebrating progress instead of dismissing it. Each one felt insignificant, but together they became my new story. They became my new story. Because that's the thing about stories. They aren't written in one chapter. Writing your story happens a page at a time, a choice at a time, one brave moment at a time. And maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you're waiting until you're completely healed before you start living, but please don't. Maybe you're waiting until you're confident before you speak up. Maybe you're waiting until you're worthy before you take care of yourself. I want to lovingly, in my most loving voice, I want to challenge you. What if healing isn't the prerequisite? What if choosing yourself is? What if confidence doesn't come first? Because it doesn't. I've learned when it comes. What if confidence grows every time you keep a promise to yourself? Because it does. Confidence comes when you keep promises to yourself. What if worthiness isn't something you earn? And what if it's just something you had all along? But maybe it just took you a while to believe it and to learn it. For so many years, I thought healing meant becoming someone new. Now I think healing is remembering who I was before the fear convinced me that I had to disappear to be loved. I had to abandon anything that I thought was my stuff. And maybe, just maybe, that's your story too. How many times have you had to give things up or quietly set things down? You know what I've realized is healing isn't one big breakthrough either. It's a thousands of decisions that nobody applauds. It is choosing grilled chicken instead of the drive-thru. I get pretty proud of myself when I do those things now. Is drinking another bottle of water when you'd rather have something else. It's going to bed when your mind says, just one more thing. I'll just get one more thing done. It's making a doctor's appointment that you've been avoiding. And it's taking a walk instead of sitting on your butt. It's saying no. It's asking for help. It's letting someone love you without feeling like you have to earn it. Allow someone to love you without you feeling like you have to earn it. Those moments don't seem life-changing, but they are. Because every single one of them is another sentence in a brand new story. And the beautiful thing is your brain is always listening. For years, my brain heard this message: you come last. I heard it in my actions, not just my thoughts, because our actions reveal what we believe. I am an action person. Show me, show me, show me. Don't tell me. I constantly ignored my health, my exhaustion, my dreams. And what message was I actually sending to myself? It was, I'll get to you later. How many times have we said that to ourselves? When the kids are older, when work slows down, when I have more money, when I lose the weight, when everyone else is okay. When life settles down. Nothing magically just settles down, right? Life goes and you look back and it's passing by. Passing by. There will always be another responsibility for you. There will always be another bill, another crisis, and another reason, an excuse for you to wait on taking care of yourself. If we keep waiting for the perfect time to choose ourselves, we will spend our entire lives waiting. You'll just be waiting. I used to think self-care was something extra. It wasn't luxury. It's something you did if you had time. Now I see it so differently. Self-care is not a reward. It's maintenance. It's maintenance. We don't feel guilty for putting gas in our car. We don't apologize for charging our phone. Interesting, isn't it? But sometimes when we need to recharge, we apologize. Why do we expect ourselves to just be empty and keep running as if we never have to refill? And why do we believe that everyone else deserves compassion and we don't? I think part of that answer is fear, because if you're anything like me, choosing yourself is risky. Not because taking care of yourself is wrong, but because somewhere inside there's still the younger version of you saying, be careful. Don't disappoint. Don't make waves. Don't take up too much space. Do those things sound familiar? They sound familiar to me. Maybe your voice sounds different. Maybe you say, don't be a burden. Don't ask for too much. You should be grateful. Other people have it worse. And whatever your version is, I want you to know something. The voice may explain your behavior, but it doesn't get to define your future. The voice may explain your behavior, but it does not get to define your future unless you allow it to. One of my favorite quotes says, when you knew better. One of my favorite quotes says, when you know better, you do better. I would add something to that. Sometimes when you know better, you grieve. Sometimes when you know better, you grieve. Because suddenly you realize how many years you spent carrying a belief that was not yours to carry. And how crappy is that to realize? How many times you apologized for existing? How many dreams stayed dreams because you believed everyone else had to come first? Everyone else's needs had to come first. That's a hard realization. And if that's where you are today, if your dreams just stayed small dreams because everyone else needed to come first, I want to tell you something. You don't need to shame yourself for just surviving. Sometimes you do what you have to do. Thank the version of you that got you here. This version, these buttons, right? You thank that version, this version that got you here. She was doing the best she could with the information that she had. She wasn't weak. She wasn't broken. She was trying to keep you safe. And now you get to gently tell her we don't have to live that way anymore. Sometimes I picture sitting across from the younger version of me. Not to correct her. No, sometimes I want to. Not to criticize her or judge her. Just to hug her, thank her, and tell her, you were never too much. You didn't have to earn love. That's crazy. You mattered then and you matter now. Maybe that's what rewriting your story is. It's not pretending the old chapters didn't happen. It's you getting to read with new eyes. It's recognizing that the little girl that wrote them didn't have all the information. That's really a beautiful thing, a beautiful thought. And thank God she didn't have all the information, right? But the woman holding the pen today does. And that's the gift of healing. It's not erasing the past, but refusing to let it write the ending. Because here's what I know now. Choosing myself did not cause the pain. The pain was already there. Choosing myself simply gave me permission to stop pretending that it wasn't there. And sometimes the most loving thing we can do is tell the truth. Even when the truth begins with us. You know, I don't think healing is about becoming a different person, as I've said, but I think it's remembering who you were before fear convinced you that you had to become someone else. I spent a lot of my life trying to earn things that were never supposed to be earned. Love, acceptance, belonging, worth. I thought if I worked hard enough, loved hard enough, fixed, sacrificed, eventually I'd arrive at this magical place where I felt like I was enough. Listen, if you're going through those things, it's not going to happen. I'm just telling you right now. But here's what I'm beginning to understand. You don't earn your worth. You discover it. You discover your worth. You do not earn it. You discover your worth. It's been there the whole time, covered by fear, covered by guilt, hidden beneath years of stories written from a little version of you that didn't have the whole story. They were just simply trying to survive. And honestly, I don't blame her. How could I? She was just a child. She loved with everything she had. She watched people around her. She paid attention. She drew conclusions that made perfect sense with the information she had. She wasn't weak. She wasn't broken. She wasn't wrong. But she was surviving. And because of her, I am here today. I'm here today. So today, I don't want to criticize. I want to, again, thank her. She carried me to adulthood. I also want to tell her something. I want to kneel down beside her, look in her eyes, and say, you don't have to carry this anymore. I've got it from here. Maybe that's what growing up is. It's not pretending that little version of ourselves didn't exist. It's not ignoring our past. It's not stuffing it down, but gently taking them by their hand and thanking them. Right? Thank you for protecting me. And then tell them you can rest now. Can you imagine what the little version of you needed to hear? Maybe they needed to hear you're safe. You don't have to fix everyone. This wasn't your fault. You don't have to disappear to be loved. Maybe you're just allowed to take up space. And I wonder how many adults are still waiting to hear the words that should have been spoken decades ago. So if it's something that you're needing, this is for you. Maybe that's why this conversation matters so much. That's why this part of my story matters so much. It's because maybe you're there too. Sometimes it's about finally hearing with your heart. Sometimes it's about finally hearing what your heart has needed all along. I want to leave you with this. I don't want you to change your whole life. I don't want you to quit your job. I don't want you to make some giant dramatic decision, but I want you to notice how you talk to yourself. Notice how quickly you apologize, and notice how often you put yourself last. Notice every time guilt shows up because you did something healthy. Notice every time you feel like you have to earn rest, and every time you think, I'll take care of me later. Because awareness is where healing begins. You can't rewrite a story that you don't realize you're reading. You can't rewrite a story that you don't even realize you're reading. Ask yourself this question. Is this the truth, or is this the story that my younger self wrote? That question alone may change your life, because what I know today, I didn't know yesterday. Choosing myself did not cause the pain. The pain was already there. Choosing myself did not cause the pain. The pain was already there. The people I love are not hurt because I finally chose me. My family isn't harmed because I choose to be healthier. My friends aren't losing me because I set boundaries. The world doesn't fall apart because I rest. The world will go on. The people who truly love me don't need me to abandon myself in order to earn a place in their lives. And if someone only loves a version of me that can constantly sacrifice herself, that's not love, that's dependency. Healthy love in any manner doesn't require self abandonment. Healthy love celebrates your healing, it cheers you on to become healthier. Healthy love says, I want what's best for you. Over the last year, I have lost a lot of weight. I see the number on the scale. I see clothes fit differently. I see pictures. I see physical transformation. But that's not the biggest transformation I've had. It's really not. The biggest thing that I've lost isn't pounds, it is lies. I lost the lie that I have to disappear to deserve love. I don't have to disappear to deserve love. You do not have to disappear to deserve love. I lost the lie that everyone else's needs matter more than mine. I lost the lie that rest had to be earned. But good luck still getting me to rest. I lost the lie that my body is my enemy, because my body likes to play enemy a lot. And I realized it's not my enemy. It is my vessel. It is my meat suit that has me right where I'm at. And I've lost the lie that healing is selfish. And I hope with everything in me that maybe one day you lose one too. Because your story does matter, not because it's perfect. And not because you have every chapter figured out. Not because you're reaching the ending. Your story matters because it's yours. And here's the beautiful thing about stories. The first chapter doesn't get to decide the ending. And here's the most beautiful thing about writing your story. The first chapter does not get to dictate the ending. The hardest chapter doesn't get to decide the ending. You do. You do. Today and tomorrow. One choice at a time. One raindrop at a time. It's so impactful. Stop living your life through a child's lens, through what your little child, your younger self, discovered and filled in the blanks when you were younger. Take the pen back. Take the pen back to write your story. The first chapter does not dictate the ending. The hardest chapters of your story don't dictate the ending. Keep going. Write your story. Until next time, love you guys.